Baptism. Now we all know what baptism is. It's originally a Greek word, baptizo, immersing or performing ablutions or ritual washing of water to admit membership to the church. Now the way I use the word baptism is kind of different, and when you learn the simple concept, it's going to make a huge difference on how you gain experience, build confidence in yourself, make money, and add value to any business, any career, or any service imaginable. Now back in 1988, I got my dream job writing video games for the Macintosh game pioneer PCAI. Now they made the first video games for the Mac, including Mac Golf, Road Racer, Mac Racquetball, and more. I worked on a space shoot-'em-up game, Network, Pictionary, and a racing game. Now my mentor at the time was a programmer named Doug who had some great chops. He was a super fast coder, and when we worked together, magic happened. Now, I was a pretty decent programmer, but what I learned all happened inside of 2 weeks that turned me into a superstar. And one of Doug's favorite sayings was, "Baptism by fire." Now what he meant by that was total and complete immersion. We set out with impossible deadlines, we wrote down a series of goals on a whiteboard, and we spent time talking about and visualizing what the end would look like, how we would feel when we arrived. And then we talked about that experience as though we were playing the game that we were going to make together. Now we talked about what the games would look like, what they'd sound like, how we'd feel when we'd play them, and what it would be like to win. Now what we didn't know at the time was that we were doing something that Napoleon Hill often talked about in Think and Grow Rich. He called it imagination, and I call it theater of mind. Now you see, the best way to learn something is to find a mentor, baptize yourself, and then completely and totally immerse yourself in it. You have to cast away all your preconceived notions, absolve yourself of past truths, or in many cases the lies or delusions that you have, and be completely willing to cast away your past and become something greater than you were before. Now since that time, I've used this very powerful concept when training new employees or contractors. And at my first real company, Digital Cafe, I often brought in young kids, 16 to 18 years old, with zero experience, but with the raw potential and unquenchable thirst to do something great, but they had no real work experience. Now one of them was a young kid named Scott, and I used to call him Scotty. He was 6'4", heavy, he had lots of acne, a baby face, he was super soft-spoken, he was shy, and completely fearful of crowds. And by all definitions, Scotty was a giant nerd. Now what I could feel was Scotty's potential and his hunger to be great. And what he lacked in external confidence, he had internally with his intellect and raw potential. And I could feel it in every fiber of my being. Now together, I sat down with Scotty and shared with him a vision of what we wanted to do and what we collectively imagined it would be like to build his first game. Now Scotty got emotionally connected with the outcome. Then I'd give him the mentoring, the tools, and resources to get to the finish line. And we had a great team of designers, artists, music composers, and other hungry talent. Now Scotty was baptized by fire and given a little boost with some coaching, a team, tools, and a vision. And that is when the magic happened. Scotty was so focused on the outcome and the emotion that he knew he'd experienced when he finished that he blasted through challenges twice as fast as I expected. Scotty wasn't burdened by cynicism or wisdom of the past, and he would find new ways to solve problems that the most experienced pros couldn't even figure out. In fact, for years, Scotty worked for us and did things that programmers with 10 and 15 years of experience said were impossible. And by the time he graduated from college, he had written hundreds of games, programs, and websites, and gained experience that almost nobody his age had ever achieved. Now, I nicknamed Scotty my secret weapon, and Digital Cafe became a legend in Minneapolis and St. Paul. And later on, we got acquired by $1 billion advertising agency. Now, all that came from baptism by fire and vision. And that's the lesson. You got to find something that speaks to you. Immerse yourself completely in it. Connect and bond with an emotion that you associate with on the finish line. And then practice theater of mind and dive in. I'm Mike Koenigs, and baptism is the word on the street.